Yo, what the flip is going on? I need to give my opinions on Metallica albums because for the last several months, all I've been doing talking about them and their music, and I gotta get it out. I gotta get it out because I have hot topics and I don't understand just the straight diehard love for those first five albums. Like, don't get me wrong, they're great. First five albums are great. Perfect thrash metal albums, whatever you want to say about them, but I'm just saying there's better stuff in their choreography than those albums, right? So I got to get to all that here in just a second. And down here at the bottom, you can see they're a little bit out of order. No big deal. I will just go through and work start to finish. So Kill 'Em All. This is the starting point for Metallica, the Dave Mustaine album. Right before the album was published, though, you know, Dave Mustaine was kicked out of the band and Kirk Hammett was replaced and all of the parts were then played by him. It is a very good starting point, so I'm going to put it in good. Now, before people freak out and like, this needs to be God tier, this is a God tier thrash metal album, they nailed it for the first try. Yes, they did nail it, but I love Metallica's sound in a total, and how they grew throughout the years is why I love them. If they had made this album and then stuck with that exact type of music, that exact type of thrash metal throughout their whole career, I probably wouldn't care for them as much as I do now. Anywho, on to Ride the Lightning, and this is where the hottest opinions come in. All right. This is what I would say most people's favorite album, and I would definitely get put up here almost every time. My hot topic is this album is not for me. To me, Ride the Lightning is my personal least favorite Metallica album. Don't get me wrong, this album is flawless, right? I mean, other than Escape, we can forget about Escape. We know they had to make it because of the studio. Whatever, not a big deal. Fight Fire with Fire is one of the best opening songs ever. Call of Cthulhu is one of the greatest instrumental pieces written of all time. We all know this, but this album doesn't sit and connect with me like, in fact, most of these other ones that we're about to get to. But Ride the Lightning, I'd put at a decent album. Next up, Master of Puppets. Ooh, I'm going to go a little bit of back and forth on this one. Is this album perfect? Or is it just incredible? See, I don't want to give two spoilers on which albums are my favorite, but if this album... See, this one's weird for me. Ride the Lightning sounds very much... To me, it's like a worse version of Death Magnetic. I think Death Magnetic is a much more refined sounding version of what they were trying to go for in Ride the Lightning. I don't know if that sounds weird, but I'm trying to give my comparison for Master of Puppets. Something about these two albums, they just feel a little bit muted, a little bit not as punctual as I wish they did. Ride the Lightning more so. But for Master of Puppets, I think it's got to go in the incredible tier. But right at the very, very, very top, this is going to stay. Because over the course of this list, I might find a reason why it should be moved up. It's definitely not getting moved down any more than it is. It will at minimum stay top of incredible. I feel like I should move it up to God right now just for Orion, which is my favorite instrumental piece of all time. I mean, I love Orion. Sanitarium is another one of my favorite songs of all time, up there with Damage Inc. But for right now, we're going to leave it at top of incredible. Now, we're getting to my favorite stuff. This is the least hot topic opinion I have, and Justice for All is by far my favorite album of all time. All time. This album is perfect. It was an important piece back in the time, talking about, you know, how we treat our soldiers, and James talking about his problems with his parents. This album hits spot on, dude. I have never felt more connected to an album, never felt more relatable, and all of the issues addressed in this album are still just as important today. It's like they made a timeless masterpiece to keep going that will live until, dude, I don't know, after I'm long and gone, and Little shout out to Dyer's Eve being my personal favorite song of all time. I love, love, love Dyer's Eve. And Justice for All, the title track, you know, starting off with Blackened. Talk about their most technically impressive song ever, dude. Blackened, if you go through and read that sheet music, it is time change, signature change, signature change. Trying to keep up with that seems so hard to play, but they made it and killed it. And obviously one, that's another super soft opinion I have. One is a perfect song, obviously. Cool. Oh, forgot something. Shout out to Frayed Ends of Sanity for having by far their best guitar solo. Now, let me drop this right here. Metallica guitar solos, they're not for me as much as they would be for like Megadeth. I love Kirk. I love the way he plays. But the reason some of these first 4 albums are like this is because there's obviously a lot more emphasis around lead guitar back then, and I just don't really enjoy that as much. I'd rather have a strong rhythm guitar backed up by a heavy bass and drums complemented by the lead guitarist. You know what I mean? Anywho, onto the Black Album. Where would I put the Black Album? Oh man, this is a tough one for me. See, when I think of Metallica and I try to break them up into sections, it goes like their first 4 albums, that's like section 1 of Metallica's career. Section 2 is kind of starting with the Black Album through Saint Anger, or at least through Reload, because I cannot believe this album worked for them. This album is a bunch of radio-friendly, shorter, more tuned to everyone type music, if that makes sense. I think it is the most impressive thing in the world that they not only could retain their audience, but get in a cajillion new people to like their music with this album. That just doesn't happen often, and I think that's incredibly respectable. I don't think this album is as great as everyone says it is, but I do still think it is up there. I would definitely put it above Hit Kill 'Em All. I think this is an incredible album. Definitely below Master of Puppets. It's not as good as Master of Puppets, but this album does have some truly hidden gems that I feel like don't get talked about enough. Like, I see a lot of hate for Struggle Within, one of my favorite album enders from Metallica. I love the Struggle Within, dude. That go into the riff again, that is the best go in their whole list of songs. Hate me for it, I don't care. Perfect. Holier Than Thou, dude. Wolf of Man, that's my favorite song on the album, dude. I love Wolf of Man. Anywho, enough about the Black Album. We can keep that one kind of short. On to Load. Load. Load is... Nah, I'm just kidding. Load's not mid. Load has a few songs in it that I don't particularly love. But if you held a gun to my head and was like, you have to pick 3 Metallica albums to listen to for the rest of your life and none of the other ones, I would definitely pick Load, because it has so much on it that I feel like I need and can only get on an album like Load or Reload. Like, for example, Outlaw Torn is such a beautiful, like, legit perfect song. When I listen to that song, I feel like I'm going through the 5 stages of grief. Like, I feel my body go through that process every time I'm listening to that song. Starting it off with Ain't My Bitch, too. I mean, I don't particularly care for the use of a bunch of cursing and shit in my songs, just because I want them to be as fairly open in general for everyone. Call me a pussy, I don't care. But Ain't My Bitch is great. 2x4, groovy, we'll call it groovy. House That Jack Built, that's where this album starts for me, though, is I think House That Jack Built through Outlaw Torn is just perfect Metallica. I'm putting Load in God tier. Load is a God tier album. This is weird for me. I've like just made up my mind on this. If you would have asked me just a month ago, I would have had Load right here, or even right here, above Master of Puppets. Actually, you know what? This is better. No, this is better. This is just hard, man. See, if they just cut out a couple of songs that I wasn't huge on in Load, this would be a god tier album. But it's just while I'm listening to it, there's a few times I skip that, you know, I don't always have to, but yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm gonna quit thinking about it, or I'm gonna confuse myself even more. Next up is Reload. Wow, man. This album goes both ways for people, man. I'll see half the people I know put it down here, half the people I know put it like right here. But Reload is kind of shafted. I'd say it's definitely a little step down compared to Load. But I also think Reload has some incredibly high points that will keep it up towards the top for me. Starting with Fuel. My hot take with Fuel is that I actually don't care for it that much. Fuel is very much a reaction to the feedback they got from Load, being like, hey, we don't really like this, like we need our fast, heavy metal. And they're like, okay, we're gonna make Fuel. I think that's cool, and I think there's a place for it, and I do still like the song, but it doesn't really sit as well for me, and I more like the songs more like Load's music than that. But Reload has, I'd say, by far the most hidden gems. Devil's Dance, Prince Charming, what else? Fixer. Oh, Fixer, dude. That's a fantastic song. There's some great, Where the Wild Things Are, Carpe Diem Baby, all great songs. I do think for the sake of some really low points for me, like Memory Remains and Attitude, I'm going to be putting Reload at the front of good, just above Kill 'Em All, just a little bit. But no, Reload is still a fantastic album. Could not recommend more. Next up, we're going to be going through the Garage Day bands. These are covers. These are cover albums. That kind of makes me not want to review them, keep them more personal biased. I think they're kind of all over the place. That's my thing with covers, is I typically don't enjoy covers. I much usually like music from the original band themselves. Although Metallica is very, very good at covers and making them sound like their own. So for the sake of that, I'm just going to be throwing both of these, boom, right here, bottom of good. There's songs in them that go up to God. There's songs in them that go down to mid for me. It's kind of hard to review cover albums, you know, leave them there. Next up is S&M 1. Wow, S&M 1. So S&M 1 is the S&M that has 2 original songs. No Leaf Clover, the one that everyone knows. Everyone knows No Leaf Clover. It's a great song. And then Minus Human, an heavily, heavily underrated song. Fantastic. I personally love the symphony metal combination. I think there should be more of it. And I think these 2 albums, S&M 1 and 2, are a little bit of a tease of what's something that needs to be. However, I'm going to throw S&M 1 at the bottom of Incredible. No, I'm going to throw S&M 1 between Reload and Kill 'Em All. I love the 2 original songs, and that's what puts them up here for me. Now, this is bullshit. Bottom of Incredible is a solid spot for S&M 1. I think it totally earns that spot. Like I said, if Wolf of Man is on this, Call of Cthulhu is on this, their original songs are great. They are the highlight of this album. Next up is Saint Anger, and this is where my hottest opinion, bro, most people would just put it down there and move on. Put it right down there and move on. I think that's blasphemy. I don't care what you think about the mixing. I don't care what you think about the snare drum. Obviously, that's a problem throughout the whole album, but I have gotten used to it. I have, for the most part. Going through this album is like a total refresher of the brain. I mean, it's like I've never been so flushed out of negative emotion after listening to Saint Anger. Frantic, starting off with Frantic, one of my favorite openers. Saint Anger, I personally think, like written wise, production wise, Saint Anger is the worst song of the album. But that one riff, perfect. That is a perfect riff. It makes that song good. Followed up by Some Kind of Monster, dude. Some Kind of Monster is kind of a weak addition. But after Some Kind of Monster, we get going, dude. Dirty Window. Fuck's after Dirty Window? Invisible Kid. By the way, Invisible Kid is their most tuned down Metallica song. Thought you might want to know that. What is after Invisible Kid? My World, sucker! Dude, that will make you feel on top of planet Earth itself. To Sweet Amber, oh my god, Sweet Amber, one of the best riffs in this whole choreography, maybe their best one. Onto Unnamed Feeling, which is the most underrated song they've ever written. Unnamed Feeling is perfect. Perfect! Oh my gosh. And then All Within My Hands, which I'll be honest is kind of to me. I really like All Within My Hands and S&M too, though. But I am taking Saint Anger and putting it right here. Right between Load and the Black Album. I genuinely, if I had to listen to an album for the rest of my life, I would rather listen to Saint Anger than the Black Album. Shoot me, kill me, I don't care. That's my opinion. Next up is Death Magnetic. I'll get right to the point with this one. I mentioned it a little bit earlier. Death Magnetic sounds very much like Ride the Lightning to me. It kind of sounds like a mirror album, like they were trying to get the same feel, same emotion out of it. But where Ride the Lightning sort of fails for me, Death Magnetic really, really, really works for me. I think this album is nonstop, perfectly written music. I know people talk about the mix. I do not care about the mix. The mix is not changing how they are playing as people. And I think they as people are playing perfectly in this album. It starts off so strong and ends so strong with My Apocalypse, All Nightmare Long being one of my favorite songs of all time. I gotta say, a little bit of a down point for me is The Day That Never Comes. I know that is gotta be the most played song live from this album. And I get why The Day That Never Comes very much feels like a collage of other songs from their first 4 albums, which is nice, but not really for me. I would rather listen to, oh gosh, I don't even know, any other song from that album. But no, Death Magnetic is a perfect album to me. I think it is fantastic. Next up is their Beyond Magnetic EP, cut songs from Death Magnetic. It's an EP, it's 4 songs. Let me see if I can remember the names. Hate Train, Rebel of Babylon, Just a Bullet Away, and which one am I missing? Hell and Back. 4 songs, comes out to about 30 minutes of music. I'd say all of the songs on this EP are very, very good. I get why they were cut, but I do think that you could have still added any of these songs to Death Magnetic and made it just as good. However, this EP has not aged as well with me as I would have liked. Like, I found myself listening to it a little bit less and less and less over the time. So because of that, I'm going to put it in top of good. I think these songs are probably better than what's in Reload. But, yeah, top of good seems pretty fair for me. Next up, chronologically, would be Lulu. Wow, I've noticed there's no, Lulu tier on this list. Normally there's a tier like that, but I think Lulu is overhated, and I am convinced that everyone that's ever reviewed this album has not actually listened through it. Don't get me wrong, I don't think this album is God or incredible or even good, but this is not a Metallica album. This is a Lou Reed album that Metallica is the backup band for. I feel like people don't seem to realize that. But where this one album gets probably 100 extra bonus points is with Pumping Blood and Mistress Dread. The first time I listened to this album and I listened to those 2 songs back to back, I legit thought I was going to have a heart attack. I have never felt so heart attack responsive to a couple songs in my life, but like in the best way possible. I was just so impressed with the rhythm and sheer speed of those songs that no, that'd be blasphemy. We'll leave Lulu indecent at the bottom of decent. Those two songs really make that album for me. Next up would be Hardwired to Self-Destruct. There it is. There's our last God tier album. I find Hardwired to Self-Destruct to be Metallica at its most perfect when they know how to play together. So the difference between the first 4 or 5 albums is that each instrument, to me, sounds like they're trying their hardest, but like in their own bubble. They're trying their hardest to play together in their own bubble. Between Death Magnetic, Hardwired, and 72 Seasons, they sound like they finally connected, like figured out how to be one noise, one sound, one organism. And I think Hardwired to Self-Destruct does it the best. I also personally think that every single song from that album is great. There is not a single song in all of Hardwired that I dislike. I think starting with Hardwired, perfect. That's so good. Ending with Spit Out the Bone is so good. If you're like me and you like to listen to these on CDs, you'll know that Hardwire is the only CD that's split up to disc 1 and disc 2 compared to all of the others. I guess that's not true. Lulu is as well, but I'm not counting that. So disc 1 Hardwired goes Hardwired, Atlas Rise, Now That We're Dead. Maybe that's track 5. I might be flipping them around. Moth into Flame. I'm forgetting one of the names. Doesn't matter. And then to Halo on Fire, which Halo on Fire is up there with like one Orion. I don't even know what other ballad type songs do they have where they start fast and slow down and start and slow, and oh my gosh. Also, I know I was trashing on the covers a little bit earlier, but again, if you get the Hardwired CD collection, they will come with a bonus track, and I personally find the covers on Hardwired to be the best covers they have ever done. Most specifically, my favorite being Remember Tomorrow by Iron Maiden. Do a cover of it. It is beautiful. It is a beautiful song. Oh my gosh. Second half of Hardwired is, I feel like, where people tend to fall off. I've met a lot of haters of the second half of Hardwired, and I kind of used to be there myself, but I don't know what happened to me. A few months ago, something just clicked. And now, like, Confusion is my second favorite guitar solo of the choreography, and also one of my favorite songs ever. Confusion, Am I Savage? Oh my gosh, Am I Savage? It was another perfect song. Man Unkind, I love the way Man Unkind starts and goes through. Murder One is the only one that's a little bit close to being like for me, but it still kind of works. But that's just because Murder One was their Frankenstein song. If you don't know Metallica, Frankenstein's their songs. They'll record bits and pieces and then mash them together in editing. Not always, but they do that. And that Murder One was their Frankenstein song of that album. And then, like I said, ending out with Spit Out the Bone. Beautiful. Hardwired is perfect to me. Next up is S&M 2. S&M 2 has no fully original songs, which hurts it, but it is still probably here for me. I will put S&M 2 above Saint Anger. I think S&M 2 is almost perfect, and I think the songs they chose to play are by far the best options they could have chosen. Since this came out after Death Magnetic and Hardwired, they had the chance to get a lot of really great songs from those albums to move over, like Unforgiven 3 from Death Magnetic. They did an all-vocal version of that. So no Metallica band, but just the symphony in James's voice, and it was beautiful. Cover of Outlaw Torn, which is beautiful, from Load. From Hardwired, they did a couple songs. They did Confusion and Halo on Fire, which I was so thankful for. I want to say they did one more. I'm having a hard time remembering right now. But a little special thing I want to bring up from S&M 2 is a little song called The Iron Foundry. So that is a very old classical piece of music and written so that Metallica could play it with the symphony. I think that song is fucking bullshit because it's so good and it's so catchy and it's such a vibe, but it is such a tease of a genre that does not exist. A genre that I have looked for and cannot find. You can't just do that to me. You can't just make one thing that's so unique that nothing else like it exists and then drop it. What? Dude, give me more Iron Foundry type music. Anyone, any band, doesn't have to be Metallica, doesn't have to be the San Francisco Symphony, it could be anybody. Moving on. 72 Seasons, Metallica's newest album. So, if you had asked me a year ago what I'd think about this album, I probably would have had this at mid. But as time goes on, my opinions, my thoughts have heavily changed about this album. Every song that I used to really like, I now don't like as much. And every song that I didn't like, I love. It's weird. I've had a total flip-flop on this album. So this album had 4 songs released as singles before it came out as a full album, which is a lot. 4. Starting off with Lux Eterna. You know, I kind of liked Lux Eterna the first time I heard it. I still think Lux Eterna is kind of overrated. I don't think it's all that. I do think it's good. It's great. You know, it's super catchy, but not for me. The next single I want to say was either Darkness Had a Sun or Screaming Suicide. I'll mention Darkness Had a Sun. I kind of hate to say this, but if Darkness Had a Sun, when that came out, I kind of liked it, but it has become my least favorite Metallica song ever. It is the only song that I would genuinely put a tier below mid out of every song they've ever made. Screaming Suicide was their next release, I believe. I think Screaming Suicide's very good. I think it's just right there. Very good, though. I don't think it has the capability of pushing to great. And then next is 72 Seasons, the title track. I don't really know. That's another song that I feel like people really love, but isn't for me as much. I think where this album really shines is, it's weird. It's like in the first third of the album, there's a song or two that it's like really shines. Second, third, and like they're all spread out really weird. Where the songs that I love are Shadows Follow is one of the best Metallica songs to me. I think Shadows Follow is so catchy, so heavy, so fast, and it just gets me ready for the rest of this album. Oh my gosh, like I wish Shadows Follow was the title of this album title track. I wish that's what it was. I love that song. Next, Crown of Barbed Wire. Crown of Barbed Wire is fantastic. I don't really think there's much I can say about it that other people haven't. Crown of Barbed Wire is very good. What other songs do I love? Dude, Too Far Gone and Room of Mirrors and Inamorata. Those are my other 3 love songs. Those 3 songs are great. There was a time where I listened to Inamorata every day before and after work, driving home into work for about 2 months straight. And it was one of the best times of my life. But I would put 72 Seasons right here. But this is my list. I know it's really kind of divisive and I might get a hater or two, but this is my opinion. I genuinely feel that this is how the Metallica discography lines up. In order, let me make sure I have them all in the order I'd like. And Justice for All being my favorite, yes, of course. Hardwired being a close number 2, and then Death Magnetic being a close number 3, yes. Those 3 albums are perfect to me, and I will listen to them until I die. Incredible, starting off with Master of Puppets being first, that's fair. Honestly, I think Load and Master of Puppets kind of flip-flop for me, which one would be first. Right now, though, because of how much I've been enjoying Orion lately, Master of Puppets is going to stay first. S&M 2, yeah, S&M 2 is pretty perfect. Saint Anger is a great album. Please just give it a chance. Maybe skip a couple songs down. Skip to My World. skip to my world and sing along with the sucker part, and you're gonna have so much fun. I swear it. Black Album, a little bit lower than I thought it was gonna be, but like I said, I don't really enjoy the way the band shifted to this album, but it worked. So I can't really be upset about it. I don't know. It's still an incredible album and still very much deserves to be in the incredible spot, if not higher. 72 Seasons is incredible. I think this album over the next several years will honestly age better and better for me, and I do see a world where 72 Seasons ends up here, because 72 Seasons sounds so similar to Hardwired and Death Magnetic. It's just not quite there for me yet. But because of how it's been aging for me, I do think it will get there. And then S&M 1, or S&M 1. No Leaf Clover minus Human. Check them out if you haven't heard them. They're great. They're the originals from that. Please listen to them. Good. We're going Beyond Magnetic, Reload, Kill 'Em All, and then their Garage Inc., Garage Day, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Their cover albums. But mostly what matters here is Beyond Magnetic, Reload, Kill 'Em All. Great. And then in decent tier, I have Ride the Lightning and Lulu. Thank you for watching this. How long I've been recording? 31 minutes. That's a lot. I'm not going to cut this down. I don't care. I just want to get it out there because I'm tired of sitting on this. I need to put my voice out there. Thank you for watching. I have been Noalicious. If you want to see something else like this, like maybe a breakdown of what I feel about one album ranked, like all the songs in one album, or maybe all of their songs together, or maybe what I find to be their greatest cover, or maybe what I find to be their best unreleased song, which there's a few unreleased songs of theirs that are great. Anywho, I've been Noalicious. Take care now. Goodbye.